Have you ever imagined a civilization so advanced, so powerful, it reshaped the world around it? A kingdom of shimmering towers, circles of stone aligned with the stars, technology lost to time, and then, in a single night, it vanished. No survivors, no ruins above the water, just a legend whispered across centuries: Atlantis. For thousands of years, people have called it a myth, a metaphor, a cautionary tale. But what if Atlantis wasn't just a story? What if it was real, and far more advanced than anything we know? Tonight, we dive beneath ancient waves to explore forbidden footage, hidden maps, lost cities buried in silence, and a chain of discoveries powerful enough to rewrite human history. From Plato's cryptic warnings, to underwater ruins off Cuba, India, and Japan, to government files locked behind classified walls, every clue points to a truth too big to ignore. Atlantis didn't die. It was erased. And if the past truly repeats itself, what destroyed them may already be awakening again. So turn down the lights, listen closely, and hold your breath. Because tonight, we descend into the deep, where the story of Atlantis is still very much alive. Dr. Elena Ward had spent years trying to rebuild her life, but the shadow of Atlantis had never let her go. Once, she was celebrated, a rising star in archaeology, a mind that saw patterns where others saw chaos. But the moment she suggested Atlantis might have been real, her world collapsed. Colleagues laughed behind closed doors, universities distanced themselves, funding disappeared overnight. Atlantis didn't just ruin her reputation, it broke her spirit. So when the storm rolled across her small coastal home that night, Elena wasn't looking for answers. She was just trying to forget she'd ever asked the questions. Lightning flashed, thunder rattled the windows, and then her laptop lit up on its own. A new message, no sender, no subject line, just an encrypted file pulsing like a heartbeat. Elena hesitated, then clicked. Grainy underwater footage filled the screen. Shifting shadows, drifting sediment, and something carved deep beneath the ocean floor. Perfect circular structures, impossibly precise, half sunk into darkness. Her breath caught, her pulse hammered. Then the screen froze. A single line appeared. They lied. It's real. For a moment, Elena couldn't move. Years of humiliation, years of doubt, years of pretending she no longer cared. All of it rushed back like a tidal wave. She replayed the footage again and again. Each time, something inside her tightened. A mixture of fear, vindication, and something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. The storm outside roared louder, as if urging her forward. She grabbed her old field bag, its straps cracked with age, and stuffed it with what little equipment she still kept. Passport, diving notes, old maps, Plato's worn translations, the last fragments of a life she once believed in. Before dawn, she was already driving toward the airport, rain streaking across the windshield like tears she refused to shed. The Azores were waiting, and so was the truth she had chased her entire life. Something was down there, something the world had spent centuries burying, and Elena Ward was done being afraid. She boarded the plane as the storm broke behind her, not knowing that the message she received was only the beginning. The flight to the Azores stretched across a quiet, sleepless night. Elena stared at the clouds below her, dark, shapeless, shifting. A mirror of the thoughts she tried to steady inside her mind. Atlantis. The word she once whispered with excitement, now returned like a ghost she wasn't ready to face, but she couldn't stop replaying the footage. Those impossible circles, that flawless geometry buried in total darkness. No natural formation looked like that. Someone, some civilization, built it. As the plane descended, she opened her tattered copy of Plato's Timaeus and Critias, pages worn from years of obsession. This time, she didn't read them as mythology. She read them like a code. Plato never wrote carelessly. He never embellished without purpose. Each line struck her differently now. A great and noble power, which flourished 9,000 years before the time of Solon. Kings who ruled with wisdom until pride broke their spirit. A violent day and night of misfortune, and the island of Atlantis vanished beneath the waves. Elena paused on a passage she had ignored for years, a vague reference to alignments of the heavens during Atlantis's final days. Once, it sounded poetic. Now, it felt like a breadcrumb. She flipped back and forth between pages, noticing something she'd never seen before. Strange symbols sketched in the margins of her mentor's handwriting. He had studied Atlantis quietly, secretly, and never told her. The symbols weren't Greek, weren't Phoenician, weren't from any ancient script she recognized. Yet she had seen them before. Her chest tightened. These symbols matched the ones etched around the stone ring in the mysterious footage. Her mentor had found the same connection, years before she did. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Plato wasn't describing a myth. He was documenting something real, something he feared the world would try to erase. Elena whispered to herself, "Did you know this, Plato? Did you try to warn us?" She marked the page, her fingers trembling. Another detail stood out, this one even more unsettling. Plato spoke of Atlantis not only as a mighty empire, but as one whose fall echoed through time. A cautionary tale that was meant to be heard again, not in the past, but in the future. Her breath caught. Had humanity been following the same path, without even knowing? The plane touched down with a soft jolt, snapping her back to the present. Rain streaked down the window. The storm from her home had followed her across the sea like a living shadow. Elena tucked the book into her bag, feeling a weight settle in her chest. A mix of dread and certainty. She didn't know it yet, but every word Plato wrote, every symbol he recorded, every warning he tried to leave behind, was about to come alive. And the moment she stepped off the plane, the ancient world she thought she was studying would begin looking back at her. The morning after her arrival in the Azores, Elena stepped onto the rugged shoreline of São Miguel Island. Mist clung to the jagged cliffs. Waves slammed against black volcanic rock like ancient drums, warning of something buried beneath. The ocean felt alive, as if it remembered her. With her gear strapped to her back, Elena spent the next 3 days moving across the Mediterranean's old world gateways. Santorini, Crete, Sicily, islands separated by languages and centuries, yet every site whispered the same impossible truth. The first dig site in Santorini chilled her immediately. Under the volcanic ash, she found stone slabs melted into smooth curves, hardened into shapes no primitive tool could replicate. Rock doesn't melt like that, not without heat far beyond anything ancient humans should have possessed. She traced her fingers across the glossy surface. It felt unnatural, too perfect, too deliberate. In Crete, the pattern struck again. Ruins arranged in concentric rings. Not random, not accidental, but planned with geometric precision, exactly like the shapes she had seen in the encrypted underwater footage. Her pulse quickened. In Sicily, it happened a third time. Elena stood before a fragment of metal half lodged in the earth. a shimmering alloy with strange orange-red hues. She held it up to the sun. It glinted like fire. One word escaped her lips. Orichalcum. Plato's mythical metal, a substance scholars dismissed as poetic exaggeration. Yet here it was, cold and heavy in her palm. Every sight matched the next. Every clue dissolved the boundary between legend and history. Atlantis was no longer a theory. It was becoming a map. But with each discovery, something else grew alongside the excitement. Interference. Her research permit for the Santorini site was suddenly revoked. In Crete, a file containing drone footage vanished from her secured drive. On her third night, her phone turned itself on at 3:17 a.m., the front camera blinking as if someone was watching her through it. She stared at the glowing screen, heart pounding, until the feed cut to black again. The message was clear. She wasn't the only one tracing this path. Someone, some group, wanted her to stop. That evening, she met with her dive partner, Jonah, a veteran with calm eyes and a steady voice. They had worked together for years. He had seen her at her lowest and helped her back to her feet more times than she could count. But tonight, he wouldn't meet her gaze. "Elena," he whispered, voice cracking at the edges. "We need to talk." She felt her stomach tighten. He swallowed hard, then said the words that hollowed her chest. "I'm being paid to report on you." The room fell silent. Wind rattled the windows. The world seemed to tilt. "Who?" she asked, barely breathing. He shook his head. "I don't know. The instructions come anonymously, money wired from offshore accounts. They knew where you were going before you did." Elena stepped back, hands trembling. Someone was tracking her movements across continents. Someone was following the same clues she was, and didn't want her getting ahead. Jonah's voice broke as he whispered, "I'm sorry, but you're not safe." Elena closed her eyes. For a brief moment, she felt the same crushing humiliation she experienced years ago, when the academic world tore her apart for believing in Atlantis. But this time, the threat wasn't ridicule. It was something far darker. She lifted her head, resolve tightening her heartbeat. If someone powerful was trying to stop her, that meant one thing. She was getting close. Chapter 4 was already calling to her from the depths of an ocean that held more than ruins. It held answers. Elena barely slept after Jonah's confession. Every sound outside her hotel window felt amplified. Footsteps on gravel, car doors closing, the soft hum of a passing boat. She wasn't paranoid. She was being watched. By dawn, a single message flashed onto her phone. No name, no greeting. Just 3 words. "We found something." Attached was a set of coordinates, far off the coast of Cuba, a region known for strange currents, failed expeditions, and research permits that never get approved. But Elena didn't hesitate. If someone was risking sending her coordinates this sensitive, it meant they trusted her more than anyone else, or they were desperate. She booked a local fisherman's boat and headed toward the rendezvous point. Clouds were sliding across the sky like bruises, and the water below shifted from blue to a cold metallic gray. After hours at sea, a shape appeared on the horizon. A small research vessel rocking gently in the waves. No movement, no crew on deck. Something felt wrong. Elena boarded cautiously, calling out names she had been given by the anonymous message. No response. Only the sound of waves slapping against the hull. Inside the cabin, chaos. Chairs overturned, papers scattered, a half-eaten meal left untouched as if the crew had been taken mid-bite. But no blood, no struggle, just absence. The silence pressed on her chest. Then she saw it. A waterproof case lying on the floor, deliberately placed in her path. Hands shaking, she opened it. Inside, a single hard drive. When she plugged it into the boat's monitor, a video opened automatically. The screen filled with underwater footage, dark clouds of sand, beams of light slicing through ancient shadows. And then, a colossal stone structure emerged. Massive pillars, perfect angles, carvings swallowed by algae, a submerged city. Her breath hitched. The camera angle shifted, revealing another structure, identical in shape to the stone rings she saw in the encrypted Azores footage. Then another structure, and another. As the footage continued, the truth unfolded with bone-deep clarity. These weren't isolated ruins. They were connected, a network, a global blueprint repeating across continents and oceans. Japan, India, Cuba, all sharing the same architecture, the same symbols, the same impossible engineering. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Atlantis wasn't alone. The message on the screen, placed by the missing divers, appeared. It's bigger than a city. It's a network. The video glitched suddenly. The diver's breathing turned frantic. A distorted voice came through the audio, panicked, urgent. Turn, back, they know. Static, the feed cut. Elena stared at the screen, frozen. Her pulse throbbed in her ears. These divers didn't vanish by accident. They vanished because they had found proof of something enormous, something someone didn't want the world to see. Wind rattled the cabin windows. A storm was gathering again. Elena steadied her breath. She wasn't running anymore. She wasn't hiding. If the world was determined to erase Atlantis, she would uncover every last trace they'd buried. She copied the data, pocketed the drive, and stepped back onto the deck. The ocean below rippled with a dark, ancient energy, as if the deep itself recognized her now. And somewhere beneath those waves, a forgotten world waited for her next move. The moment Elena returned to her hotel room, she locked the door behind her. Her clothes still smelled of seawater and diesel, and her skin tingled with the cold memory of the abandoned Cuban vessel. She slid the waterproof drive into her laptop, the screen filled with encrypted folders, layers of protection far beyond what normal divers could create. These weren't hobbyists. They knew what they were doing, and they feared who was watching. Elena cracked the first layer of encryption, then the second. Her heart thudded in her chest as each barrier fell. Behind the final lock, a hidden archive waited. Government memos stamped with redacted lines, satellite images blurred at the edges as if someone had tried to hide what the lens captured. Audio logs marked unauthorized recovery, research summaries that didn't appear in any public database. Elena leaned closer, breath shaky. This wasn't just academic secrecy. This was a cover-up. The first memo opened automatically. Underwater anomaly detected. Investigate quietly. Do not alert geological departments. She clicked the next file. Satellite imagery of the Mediterranean, blurry, distorted, until she dragged the contrast slider upward. Her blood ran cold. In the image was a perfect circular structure, buried beneath shifting sands and ocean debris. Not one circle, several. The same pattern she saw in Cuba, Japan, India, a pattern older than any recorded civilization. Elena scrolled faster. Each new file cut deeper into the truth. Ancient infrastructure confirmed. Avoid media exposure. Suppress findings until further notice. Every phrase felt like a whisper from the past and a warning for the future. She opened an audio log. A male voice crackled through static. These ruins predate known cultures by thousands of years. Not a single site is isolated. Our models show global synchronization, same architecture, same layout. Atlantis is only one of them. The recording ended abruptly with a violent burst of static. Cut off, silenced. Elena shut her eyes, overwhelmed. This was bigger than a lost city, bigger than any myth or conspiracy. This was a network, a global civilization humanity barely understood. Her pulse quickened as she clicked a folder labeled Restricted Level 5. A warning popped up. Accessing this file is a federal offense. She swallowed hard and opened it anyway. Inside was a compiled timeline, ancient dates, geological shifts, oceanic flood models, all pointing to a single theory. Humanity had risen before, higher than history dared admit, higher than modern civilization understood. And then it fell. Not because of nature, not because of war, but because someone, some ancient power, wanted it erased. Elena's hands trembled on the keyboard. Everything she had ever studied, every sleepless night, every ruined reputation, every unanswered question had been pointing here. Atlantis wasn't a single lost civilization. It was only one piece of something much larger, something global, something connected, something forgotten. And someone, even now, was working tirelessly to make sure it stayed forgotten. Elena snapped her laptop shut, adrenaline surging through her veins. She wasn't dealing with academic jealousy anymore. She wasn't battling skeptics. She was facing a force that buried entire civilizations, and now wanted to bury the truth. The weight of that realization settled over her like the pressure of the deep ocean itself. If she kept going, there would be no turning back. But stopping now? Impossible. The secrets she had uncovered were alive, pulling her deeper, drawing her toward answers humanity was never meant to see. Outside her window, thunder growled across the sky, the wind battering the glass like ancient waves trying to return. Elena stood in the dim light, the forbidden files burning in her mind. Whatever we thought we knew about human history was a lie. And the real story, the story buried beneath continents and oceans, was just beginning to surface. The storm followed Elena across the ocean like a living shadow. By the time she reached Greenland, the world felt muted, blanketed in endless white, as if the land itself was trying to bury its own memories. Snow whipped across the shoreline in sharp, icy spirals as she walked toward a rusted research station perched on the edge of a frozen cliff. Wind howled through broken metal vents, carrying a low, mournful sound, like the distant echo of something ancient crying out from beneath the ice. Dr. Isaac Voss was already waiting inside. A man once celebrated for groundbreaking climate research, now exiled, discredited, erased for speaking a truth no one wanted to hear. His face was weathered, eyes dim but fierce. A man who had stared too long into knowledge that others feared. "Elena," he greeted softly. "I knew the day would come when someone else followed the patterns." He led her deeper into the dimly lit station. Dust floated in the air like frozen ash. Old monitors hummed weakly, flickering with static. Voss typed in a password so old the keys stuck beneath his fingers. The screen came alive. Ancient coastlines, flood models, sea level simulations stretching back 20,000 years. Elena leaned closer. The world before the Ice Age looked nothing like modern maps. Continents were broader. Shorelines stretched hundreds of miles farther. Massive fertile coastlines, now completely drowned beneath thousands of feet of ocean. Voss spoke quietly, almost reverently. Civilizations thrive where land meets water, and during the last ice age, there was more land than we can imagine. He clicked another tab. Dozens of red markers appeared across the drowned coastlines. Japan, India, Cuba, the Azores, and hundreds more. Elena felt her pulse race. Every marker lined up with the ruins she had seen in the encrypted footage. Isaac, these are the same regions linked to the Atlantis network. He nodded. Because they weren't individual sites, Elena. They were cities, connected across the world. He opened a file labeled Holocene Melt Timeline, Suppressed Findings. A wave of dread rose in her chest before she even read the data. As the ice sheets melted and the oceans rose, entire coastlines, whole empires, vanished underwater in a matter of centuries. Humans didn't disappear. Their cities did. Every ruin Elena had seen, every submerged corridor, every broken pillar, every carved ring, all belonged to a civilization swallowed by rising seas. Her voice trembled. How many civilizations have we lost, Isaac? Voss looked at her with eyes that carried a lifetime of silence. More than history is allowed to admit. He tapped the final document. Satellite scans of Antarctica appeared, not barren white, but revealing strange geometric shapes beneath 2 miles of ice, lines too straight to be natural, angles too perfect, patterns too familiar. It matched Atlantis architecture. Elena staggered back, her breath caught in her throat. Before the ice, she whispered, there was an entire world down there. Voss placed a hand on the icy window, staring out into the white void. Our species didn't start in caves, Elena. It restarted in caves. Elena felt the weight of his words sink into her bones. Humanity had risen once before, built cities, technology, networks, and then lost it all to water and time. Not once, not twice, maybe many times. Every ancient myth, the floods, the sunken kingdoms, the warnings, were not stories. They were memories, fading memories of civilizations erased by oceans older than recorded history. The wind howled outside, rattling the fragile walls of the research station. The sound felt like the roar of those ancient seas returning, reminding her that everything humans built could vanish again. Elena closed her eyes, her heart pounding against the truth. Atlantis wasn't a beginning, it was a repetition, and the past wasn't done with humanity yet. Leaving Greenland felt like leaving the edge of the world behind. But the weight of what Dr. Voss revealed traveled with Elena like a second shadow. Humanity hadn't just risen. Humanity had risen before, and Atlantis was not an anomaly. It was a fragment, a shard of something far more expansive. Determined to prove what she now feared was true, Elena crossed continents in a relentless pursuit of answers. She flew from frozen coastlines to blistering deserts, from jungle-covered ruins to wind-swept plains, following a pattern older than recorded time. Her first stop was Egypt. Standing beneath the towering columns of Karnak Temple, she felt the echo of something ancient stir inside her. Hieroglyphs stretched across the sandstone, stories of gods descending from the sky, floods reshaping the land, and the first age lost beneath the waters. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Elena traced her fingers over a series of faint, nearly eroded symbols, her heart jolting when she recognized them. They were the same symbols carved around the stone rings she had seen in the underwater footage. Identical, not similar, not coincidental, identical. She stepped back, breath sharp in her chest. Egypt was not just a birthplace of civilization. It was an inheritance, a leftover piece of something far older. From Egypt, she traveled to the mountains of Peru. Thin air pressed heavily against her lungs as she climbed toward a remote plateau overlooking ancient ruins. Massive stones, shaped with precision that defied logic, sat perfectly aligned, fitted without mortar, untouched by time. At the far end of the site, half buried beneath moss and lichen, she discovered a stone tablet. Its surface, though weathered, still held a series of carved rings, concentric circles surrounding a central point. Her pulse thundered. Atlantis, the same architecture described by Plato, the same patterns buried underwater, the same symbols found in Egypt, carved here, on a mountaintop thousands of miles away. But what froze her heart wasn't the ancient rings. It was the final image carved beneath them. A map, not of ancient Earth, but of modern coastlines. Her breath hitched. Someone, thousands of years ago, had carved the shape of continents that didn't exist yet, coastlines that only formed after the Ice Age ended. And at the center of the carving was a symbol she had begun to fear, a swirling imprint, like a vortex of energy. It matched the diagrams in Plato's writings, and the patterns seen in the underwater scans, and the encrypted files showing an ancient energy system. The same energy that would one day destroy Atlantis. Elena knelt beside the stone, her fingertips trembling as she traced the modern coastline. "This can't be real," she whispered. But she knew it was. Her journey continued. Japan, where undersea ruins mirrored the same layout. Turkey, where symbols matched those from Egypt and Peru. Malta, where temples aligned to star systems long forgotten. Everywhere she went, the pattern repeated, not across decades or centuries, but across continents and oceans, across civilizations that never met, never traded, never shared language, culture, or tools. Yet they carved the same symbols, built the same structures, aligned their cities to the same stars. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't influence. It was connection. A connection humanity had forgotten. As dusk fell over the Peruvian mountains, Elena stood at the edge of the ruins, staring at the emerging stars. Every point of light above her felt like a memory of a world humanity once understood. A world that whispered secrets through architecture, mathematics, and impossible precision. And yet, the symbols didn't just resemble ancient knowledge. They resembled modern experiments. Technology humanity was beginning to rediscover without understanding the cost. Elena's stomach twisted with dread. The ancient tablet didn't just show past structures. It showed a warning, a reminder, a prophecy. Humanity wasn't just repeating Atlantis' achievements, it was repeating Atlantis' mistakes. And as the cold mountain wind brushed across her skin, Elena felt the past reaching for her, reaching through stone, through symbols, through time itself, warning her that the world she lived in was closer to destruction than anyone realized. She placed her hand over the carved energy rings, feeling their ghostly edges beneath her fingertips. "We're walking into the same storm," she whispered, "and we don't even see it coming." By the time Elena returned from Peru, she felt the world closing in around her. Airports, hotels, crowded terminals. Everywhere she went, she felt eyes lingering a second too long. People turning just as she looked their way, shadows shifting at the edge of her vision. The deeper she dug into humanity's forgotten past, the more the present seemed to tighten its grip around her. She arrived at her temporary lab, a small, rented space tucked inside a coastal research facility, just after midnight. Something felt off. Her hands trembled as she inserted her keycard. The door clicked open. The lights were already on. Elena froze. Her laptop was gone. Her drawers ripped open. Files scattered across the floor like fallen feathers. Charts torn from the walls. Server cables slashed clean through. Her research, her maps, her encrypted notes, everything she had gathered since receiving the mysterious message, was gone. A cold rush of panic surged through her chest. No, no, no. Footsteps echoed behind her. Elena spun around, heart hammering. A figure stood at the far end of the hallway, broad-shouldered, dressed in black, his silhouette framed by flickering lights. For a moment the world fell silent. Then he raised a hand, not in threat, but in warning. "Elena Ward," he said softly. "Come with me, now." Her instincts screamed to run, but something in his tone stopped her. Not anger, not violence, urgency. Reluctantly, she followed him down a stairwell and into a dimly lit maintenance tunnel. The air was cold, smelling of metal and damp earth. Only when they reached a locked utility room did he turn to face her. The man removed his cap. "Elena, my name is Marcus Hale. I used to work for the intelligence division, and you're in more danger than you realize." Elena backed away slightly, chest heaving. "Did you do this?" she whispered, voice cracking. "My lab, my research." "No," Marcus said, "but I know who did." He held up a small device, a jamming transmitter still blinking red. "They raided your lab 20 minutes before you arrived. They weren't looking for you. They were looking for what you found." Elena's throat tightened. Plato's symbols, the network, the coastlines? Marcus nodded slowly. "Elena, the myth of Atlantis wasn't buried by accident." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It was buried because its truth was too dangerous." Her breath shuddered. "What truth?" Marcus exhaled deeply. The kind of breath a man gives when he has held onto something too heavy for too long. "Atlantis wasn't destroyed by earthquakes or floods," he said. "It was destroyed by itself." The words hung in the cold air, heavy as stone. He continued. "They created a power source, something limitless, something clean, something beyond anything we understand. But they pushed it too far. They destabilized the planet. And when the collapse began, it consumed them." Elena felt her vision blur. "You're saying Atlantis caused its own destruction?" "Yes. And the governments of today know?" Marcus's jaw clenched. "They know enough. Enough to fear anyone who gets too close. Enough to monitor anyone researching pre-Ice Age civilizations. Enough to silence anything that looks like forbidden technology reappearing. Forbidden." Elena remembered the tablet in Peru, the rings, the symbols, the modern map. "We're repeating their path," she whispered. "Aren't we?" Marcus looked away. His silence was answer enough. Thunder rumbled outside, rolling across the coastline like the warning of a distant storm returning. "Elena," he said quietly, "the reason they're trying to erase your work is simple. You didn't just discover Atlantis." He stepped forward, his voice dropping to a tremor. "You discovered the blueprint we're following today." Her pulse stuttered. "Our world," Marcus said, "is on the brink of the same catastrophe." Elena felt the ground tilt beneath her. Everything she had uncovered, the symbols, the networks, the energy rings, wasn't just ancient history. It was a mirror, a warning, a prophecy repeating. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, firm but gentle. "They won't stop hunting you," he said, "but we can still expose the truth." Elena swallowed hard. Her fear slowly hardened into something sharper. something that burned through her chest like fire. Resolve. They erased Atlantis, she whispered, but they're not going to erase me. In that moment, in that cold, dim utility room beneath a storm-worn research facility, Elena Ward crossed the threshold. She was no longer the archaeologist they mocked. She was the one person standing between humanity's forgotten past and its approaching future. And she knew there was no turning back. For hours after escaping the raid, Elena sat in a dim, abandoned cottage Marcus had secured for her. A structure clinging to the edge of a rocky cliff, where the wind screamed like something ancient trapped in the dark. The only light came from a small lantern flickering on the table, casting long shadows against peeling walls. Elena spread out the stolen documents on the wooden surface. Pages of forbidden research, maps layered with redacted coastlines, seismographic charts showing impossible patterns, ancient symbols copied from sites around the world. The deeper she read, the colder she felt, not from the night air, but from the truth spreading through her veins like ice. Marcus watched her silently from across the room, his expression heavy with a knowledge he wished he didn't carry. "Elena," he murmured, "you need to prepare yourself. The truth isn't just shocking, it's devastating." She wasn't listening. Her eyes were locked on a single file. Atlantean Energy System, Unverified Reconstruction. She opened it. Inside were diagrams, rings of energy channels, crystalline conductors, orbital alignment charts, a network designed to draw power from the Earth's electromagnetic field. A power source with no fuel, no pollution, no limits. Her heart pounded. "It was perfect," she whispered. "The kind of energy humanity dreams about today." Marcus nodded slowly. "That's what made it so dangerous." Elena flipped through the pages, each diagram more disturbing than the last. Notes scribbled in the margins from ancient scholars and modern intelligence analysts. System destabilized. Geotectonic surge detected. Global tremors triggered. Cascade failure. Irrecoverable. Her vision blurred. "Marcus," she breathed, voice breaking. "They destroyed themselves, didn't they?" He stepped closer. "Elena." Atlantis didn't fall because of punishment from the gods. It fell because its people unlocked something they weren't ready to control. She felt her throat tighten. "Unlimited energy," she whispered, "didn't stay controlled." Marcus nodded. They built a machine that fed the world until it began feeding on the world. Elena staggered back from the table. Images flashed through her mind. Stone cities collapsing, walls shattering under violent tremors, oceans rising like living beasts, the sky splitting with unnatural storms. The same natural disasters Plato described, but amplified beyond nature. Not a myth, not a poetic metaphor, a technological meltdown, a civilization wiped out by the brilliance of its own creation. Her fingers trembled as she pressed them to her forehead. "All this time," she whispered, "we thought Atlantis was a symbol of greed or corruption, but it wasn't a moral story." Marcus finished softly. It was a warning label. Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the cottage in a harsh white glow. The wind roared like ancient waves striking a dying city. Elena stared at the documents spread across the table. The network, the symbols, the energy rings, the collapse. Everything she had uncovered from Cuba, Japan, India, Egypt, and Peru. Every discovery, every coincidence, wasn't random. It was a blueprint of a civilization that rose too fast and died even faster. And humanity today, with its new experimental energy systems, its underground reactors, its planetary drilling projects, its blind hunger for more, was walking the same path, the same arrogance, the same ambition, the same absent caution. Tears welled in Elena's eyes. Marcus, if we're recreating their technology, then we're recreating their destruction. His silence was the only confirmation she needed. She collapsed into the chair, covering her mouth, as her entire career, her entire identity, reshaped itself in a single, shattering moment. Atlantis hadn't been the beginning of myth. It had been the end of history, the end of their world. And unless she could warn humanity in time, it would be the end of hers. The lantern flickered violently, casting the shadows of the documents onto the wall, rings of energy, circles of destruction, a pattern repeating itself across centuries. Elena forced herself to stand, new determination burning through the grief inside her. She looked at Marcus, eyes fierce despite the tears. "This truth can't stay hidden," she whispered. "We need to tell the world." Marcus nodded. "But understand this," he said quietly. "The last time someone tried to reveal the truth about Atlantis, the world erased them." Elena inhaled sharply. "Then they'll have to erase me too, because I'm not letting history destroy us a second time." The storm had followed Elena across continents. Now it raged outside the safe house like the ghost of Atlantis itself. Wind tearing across the coastline, thunder shaking the foundations, waves crashing like a warning drum pounding through the night. She sat alone in the dark, the stolen files spread before her like pieces of a shattered prophecy. Everything she learned, the global network, the forgotten civilizations, the energy that devoured Atlantis, had led her to this moment. Marcus paced quietly near the window, checking his watch, checking the shadows, checking the storm. He knew time was running out. "They'll come for you," he warned, voice low and urgent. "They won't risk this information reaching the world." But Elena wasn't listening. Not anymore. Her focus had narrowed to the laptop in front of her, its screen glowing with the encrypted broadcast channel she had spent hours assembling, a channel powerful enough to reach thousands of private networks, for a few minutes at least. Her hands hovered over the keyboard. All she had to do was press enter. That single keystroke would unleash the truth. Atlantis, the global network, the forbidden energy system, the proof that humanity was repeating the same catastrophic mistake. Marcus leaned closer. "Elena, once you do this, you can't turn back." She drew a shaky breath. "I know." Lightning slashed across the sky, illuminating the room in blinding white. For a second, she saw her own reflection in the window, exhausted, terrified, determined. A woman who had lost her career, her safety, her anonymity, but found something worth more than all of it: the truth. Her fingers tightened. She pressed enter. The transmission ignited instantly. Maps, symbols, diagrams, footage from Cuba, scans from India, frozen coastlines from before the Ice Age. Every file, every secret, every forbidden discovery shot into the digital world like a flare fired into the night sky. For a heartbeat, the screen blazed with the words, "Broadcast live." Elena exhaled with relief, a small broken sound. "It's out," she whispered. "They can't stop it now." But the words had barely left her lips when the broadcast indicator flickered. The word live vanished. A new message appeared. Interrupted. A second later, another line replaced it. Unauthorized content. Connection terminated. Her breath stilled. "No, no, no." The screen turned black. Marcus cursed under his breath. "They cut the signal faster than I expected. faster than anyone should be able to. The room went silent. Then the lights died, the entire safe house plunging into darkness. Elena felt it before she heard it. They were here. Boots hitting the ground outside, engines humming, voices murmuring in clipped commands. Marcus's eyes locked onto hers. "We need to go, now." But Elena didn't move. A calm had settled over her, a realization building behind her eyes. The truth got out, Marcus. Even if they blocked the broadcast, people saw pieces of it. "That's not enough," he said fiercely. "They will erase you. They'll erase everything." Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out a small drive. A backup containing the last fragment of the Atlantis network files, the final piece. She closed her hand around it. "Then I'll keep running until they can't erase me." Marcus took a step toward her, but the safe house door exploded inward. Armed silhouettes flooded the room, flashlights slicing through the darkness, weapons raised, commands echoing. "Elena Ward, step away from the equipment." Marcus grabbed her arm. "Elena, go. Take the back exit, now." But she didn't run. She stood tall, staring into the blinding lights. Her voice trembled, but held its ground. "You can silence me, but you can't silence history." The agents moved closer. Marcus shouted again, "Elena, run!" Elena shot him one last look. A look filled with gratitude, sorrow, and unspoken truths. Then she slipped into the back corridor as the storm howled, the wind swallowing her silhouette whole. Her final recorded message began to play automatically on the abandoned laptop, a backup she had activated in case of her capture. Her voice, soft, ragged, determined, filled the room. "If you're hearing this, they haven't found me yet, but they will. Just like Atlantis, they'll try to erase this too." Outside, footsteps thundered after her. Flashlights carved through the night. The storm raged. Elena ran, with the truth clutched tightly in her hand, carrying humanity's forgotten history into the dark. Her voice continued, "History is repeating itself. Don't let the past drown again." The recording ended. The screen went black. Only one thing remained, a glowing symbol pulsing faintly. The same symbol etched into ruins across the world. And as the agents stormed deeper into the safe house, that symbol spread across the display, then across a map, then into the digital archives the broadcast had briefly touched. Atlantis wasn't gone. It was resurfacing, and Elena Ward, wherever she... The screen fades back in with a low, distant rumble. Not thunder, but something deeper, older, like the memory of waves striking a city long swallowed by time. A single line appears. "History does not disappear. It waits." Elena Ward vanished into the storm the night her transmission was cut. No official record mentions her name. No agency admits to pursuing her. No government acknowledges what she tried to reveal. Satellite clips flash across the screen, blurred and distorted, ruins beneath oceans, strange symbols carved into stone, shadowy documents stamped with redacted lines. Her research was seized, her files were erased, her colleagues were warned to forget she ever existed. A long silence. Then, a faint pulse of light crosses the screen. The symbol Elena uncovered, the one carved into temples and buried beneath oceans, glows softly. But the symbols she found are appearing again. Close-up shots, photos from hikers, divers, satellite scans, each containing faint, familiar markings. On cliffs, on coral beds, on ancient stone hidden in plain sight, on ruins once dismissed as coincidence, on coastlines reshaped by time, on places the world stopped questioning long ago. A map appears, spreading across the screen. dots of light forming a web exactly like the network Elena traced. Atlantis was never a story about the past. It was a story about us, a reminder carved into stone and buried in the deep, warning every civilization that rose after it. The pulse intensifies, as if the symbol itself is waking. The silence settles like dust over forgotten ruins. Then, one final question rises from the dark. If Atlantis truly existed, what else have we forgotten?